Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live stream special. I'm so excited you're joining us. We're hitting the new year off with a bang again. And in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about something a bit different. Now, as an architect, you're always going to do a little bit of interior design. But as well as that, I want to unpack the world of working with the people that focus on the interior design, interior designers, but also that kind of world in the middle of interior architecture. Is it architecture? Is it interior design? Well, I've got a guest from the industry who's going to unpack it with me, who is the fantastic Maria Ramirez from BB Interior Design Studio. Maria, how are you today?
Hello. Very good indeed. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I really appreciate you being here. And now, Maria, while we're getting to know each other, and I've learned a little bit about yourself and your studio, maybe one or two people in the audience haven't discovered what your good work is yet. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about the studio?
Sure. Well, as probably my accent gives away, I grew up in Spain and I studied there. And I guess within the family, we were always really hands-on. We built houses. We had workshops. I grew up doing all sorts of bits and bobs with my grandfather. Um, so I studied then the history of art because again we were really artistic, and then I did interior design. But obviously, because of that background, I kind of lean more towards knocking down walls rather than choosing dried flowers.
Yeah.
I'm on that kind of end of the spectrum. So that's kind of my background. And then I founded BB Interiors because I saw a need within the industry. There was a lot of interior design companies. There was a lot of architectural companies, but a lot of clients were coming to me because they have done this bit with this professional and that bit with the other professional, and it was not really well integrated. There was not a comprehensive system, I guess, and there was all sorts of problems with, oh, this person has done the FF&E, but it's not the same for you. You mean for you FF&E means one thing, and for the architect means another thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So obviously, I have a interior design and project management background, but I'm very architectural lean. I lean very much on the architecture. And so it kind of evolved into doing projects from beginning to the very end. So from the technical drawings and planning applications, and I have an architect that I work with very closely. We are kind of the core team, and we develop everything within like in-house. So it has been amazing because we have been able to think very much at the beginning of the project,
Yep.
all the little details, and not having to do the work twice or three times.
I love it, and I'm fascinated. I want to learn a little bit more about how especially you collaborate with that architect. But just before we go into that, I want to wind the clock back. So years ago, and we talked about this a tiny bit before we went live. I
Yeah.
was thinking maybe I should do an interior design, then architecture, and I mean, who knows what happened? But I went to study architecture, and I did a module in interior design, which I absolutely love. However, I'd love to know about yourself. How did you get into it, Maria? Then did you do interior design in university or something a little bit different?
I studied when I started studying uni. There was no interior design degree in
Oh
Spain.
wow!
Yeah, I'm ancient. So I did history of art, and I specialized in architecture.
Oh
Funnily enough,
wow!
I did my specialty in medieval architecture, which is
Oh
quite random,
wow!
like more historic. So in Spain, again, back then was 5 years. So it was really intense. And it really, I could not be more grateful, honestly, because in a way, I spent 5 years of my life learning to fall in love with different styles.
Yep.
So any one client that comes to me, we don't have like an in-house style.
Yep.
I have clients that come to me and say, "Hey, we are minimalist," and I'm like, "Cool. Maybe you really are not minimalist, but cool." I have people that come to me saying, "We like colorful," or "We don't like color at all," or "We are maximalist," or mid-century, and we can really cater for everyone. And that versatility, that flexibility, I'm really proud of, and that's what my degree gave me, really. Um,
Nice.
and then I did my master's in interior design and project management. So that has been the more practical. But to be honest with you, and I always say this, you do a lot of study and you go through um, your professors and your projects at uni or whatever. A lot of my girls and both girls and my whole team um, have gone through interior design degree now, the younger
Yeah.
generations. And it's amazing that the projects they have to do, but there nothing beats experience. And the fact that I grew up building stuff with my grandfather, I mean, nothing beats that because it creates a practical pathway in your brain. You look at something and your brain is automatically kind of figuring out how it's built,
Yeah.
and that it applies to architecture, but it applies to interior design because of scale and proportions and where the light is going to come into the room and how it's going to affect, I don't know, this color that you have here or this glass coffee table or something. So it creates that kind of being able
Mm.
to render in your head in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's very, very practical. So yeah, I don't know if I actually
No,
answered this.
no, it's really, really useful. I'm just, while you were talking, what's quite interesting is though, where you came from, because, okay, we mentioned you've got the interior design degrees, but you've also got experience in different ways in the industry. I think architecture, because you have to be qualified, it means that sometimes people follow a very typical trajectory. But what it sounds like to me is that if people are good and in interior design, while there are qualifications, really you're saying it's the experience. You can build
Yeah.
a career and a business around that experience and knowledge in interior design. Is that correct? So,
Yeah.
y- okay. So, can I ask maybe a silly quick question? So in architecture you have RIBA, which is the Royal Institute of British Architects, and then you have the Architects Registration Board. In interior design, then, so what's the company that is like the, I don't know, professional body? Is it BIID in the
Yeah.
UK? But
Yeah.
you to sign up with the BIID, you have to work for X amount of years in the industry. Is that right?
There is a set of requirements to register with them.
Right.
I know so many people that work in the industry that are not registered.
So it doesn't
Um,
matter, it's about the quality of work and the experience, right?
yeah, I think, I mean, they have an amazing organization and they help with training and they organize workshops and they help with promoting businesses as well and
Yeah.
professionals. And I think it's very important that we have that because it sets a standards.
Yeah.
So although you don't need to be registered, there is a professional standard that you aspire to, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, everyone can do it. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Um, but I personally think it's fairly easy to spot a good or bad interior designer, someone that has the eye. I think a lot of it comes from experience, but I think also a lot of it comes to having a good eye and being a little bit of a sponge. Um, when you are starting. Um, I I always said, you know, today I'm very happy because I learned something new, or
Mm,
today, it's been okay, but it's not been great because today I have not learned
yeah.
anything new, or I have not done something new. So yeah, you don't really need to be registered with them,
No,
although
fair.
it's preferable.
Fair. I got what you mean, and that makes complete sense. So it's interesting that you mentioned the eye or taste, and I think my experience is that that comes with time. I look back at some of the work I did at the start of university, and I'm like, oh gosh, oh good, terrible, and
My
what were
first portfolios.
yeah, exactly. So, but I'd love to know in your words, this eye you mentioned, you said the eye. Uh, is someone born with the eye, or do you need to be born with a bit of an eye and you can develop the eye?
Oh, that's a very, very good question. Oh, I don't know. I think definitely there's people that are born with the eye.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, I don't want to give too much away, but I know someone that a woman has two kids, and honestly, the kids choose their own clothes, and it's amazing.
They have the
They,
eye.
they have the eye. One of
Yeah.
them looks every day like it's come out of Peaky Blinders. I swear to go with the
Wow.
flat cap and the suspenders, and it's like, um, but I think for the majority, you might have some eye or some inclinations, but it's about developing that and training that, and and learning from your mistakes, because
Yeah.
even if you have got good eye, you will make mistakes, and the important part is that you need to learn from that.
Yeah.
um,
No.
and 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 hugely important is also to have someone to guide you, to support you, both on a practical point of view and an emotional point of view. I think it's quite a stressful career altogether because it's also subjective. So you
Yeah.
really might like it, but someone else doesn't, and you don't understand why.
Mm, yeah. I
So,
think you've got to be passionate for it. I spoke to an architect yesterday,
mhm.
director of an architecture practice, and he said that he spends 10 to 20% of his time doing the design, and the rest of it is about building the building. I'd love to know
Ooh,
what the day to day of an interior designer is compared to that analogy as an architect. Is it different then, Maria, the day
completely,
to day?
completely, honestly, completely. On a design process, I
Hmm.
think, I mean, one of my when I was starting, I remember one of my seniors told me, "Why are you panicking? I will spend a good day or 2 days on Instagram and Pinterest trying to figure out what to do."
Mm.
And then, if you are doing like joinery or space planning, or yes, you will have maybe, but typically, once you have got the idea, just match it.
Yeah.
Say you are doing a kitchen, you might spend one day on Pinterest trying to imagine how you want to do it or what you want to do with it, with the space. If you want to modify the space, if you want to just play with the space you already have, depends on the project as well.
Yeah.
But typically, once you kind of know that, you can draw that kitchen in a single day,
Right.
and then
Ve-
it's just revisions from clients.
Very different. Quite exciting, and I can see the appeal. I always wished I did interior design, but you know what? I do love architecture as well. I mean, give me on the other hand though. It sounds intense, all that design. Okay, you mentioned that you got the Instagram and the Pinterest and the bit of the research and the mood boards and getting the feel, the tone, the emotion. However, what's it like when the project develops, Maria? Does it get a little bit more technical from there then?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, we always start with, I mean, at the beginning, there will be a more creative process, because, yes, you need to kind of find out what you personally as a designer want to put forward to a client. But once all of that is done, and this is, I think, something that a lot of people don't realize, clients and some architects, as interior designers, if you have done the degree, you typically will tackle the interior architecture, which is a
Yeah.
technical part. So you will naturally do flooring setting out, electrical small power layouts, or lighting layouts. There is always going to be specialists like lighting designers and things like that, but you can um, do an indicative for the client's approval. Um, Joinery, kitchens, bathrooms elevations, bathrooms, sanitary ware schedules, things like that.
Yeah.
It's our bread and butter. Interior design is an umbrella, it's a cap term, and you will find interior architects, interior designers, more like FF&E designers. And when we say FF&E designers, we mean things that are not anchored to the building. So
Yes.
yes, it does not include the kitchen.
Got it.
My architect disagrees with this.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah. um, but we don't include the kitchen. That's into your architecture, for us. We are thinking more on, your sofa and your beds and your bedside tables and things like that. Um, and then you will have the styling part, which comes at the end, and it refers more to the cushions, the dry flowers, the decoration, the decoration, the styling elements in a bookshelf, for example, books and things like this. And an interior designer can be all of those things or just one.
Right.
And I think that's what's confusing for many people. You can be a well-rounded designer. I consider myself a round designer. So I tackle interior architecture, I do the FF&E selection, I do the styling at the end.
Yeah.
But there will be people that just specialize in styling at the end, and they are stylers, or they are interior architects, and they don't like searching for hours on the internet for this one bedside table that the client likes,
Yeah, I
which
got
is
you. Okay.
painful as well. So we do the technical side, um, quite often. I mean, in our projects, in the majority of them, actually.
Okay, it makes complete sense. Thank you for saying that because one of the things we talked about before as well was the misconceptions of interior design, and I always feel that it goes two ways with interior design. We think of interior design, amazing, the beautiful stuff. I also, though, when I was growing up, the first thing I heard about interior design on TV, I joked about it in our intro, was changing rooms with Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen coming in, even though if Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen, if you ever watch, which I don't know if you ever will, but if you do, I think you're amazing. You're super cool. However, it was kind of this kitschy interior design, just paint the walls, change a bit of the furniture. As people joke about puffing up new cushions and covers, but I
Yeah.
think there's a lot more to that. So, what is the misconception, Maria, that some people think about interior design?
Well, I don't know where it comes from. I think, I mean, it's a, I guess TV is always one of those things that it happens. It shows on TV, and people believe that's reality, and reality shows are not reality.
No.
But also, there is a very interesting thing in the United States. You can be an interior designer or a decorator.
Okay.
Um, so a decorator is what we will call here a FF&E and styling all wrapped in one. And it's that sad thing. It's new furniture, it's a new colors, it's a bit of lighting, the cushions, and all of that. But we don't have that distinction in the UK.
Yeah.
Um, so in a way, we just think it's all the same, and it's not necessarily the case. I always say, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to communication. I always say, if you are facing hiring as an architect, hiring a interior designer, or working with an interior designer, even if it's a client's interior designer, first thing that you need to ask is the scope, how far they want to go or they are capable of.
Yeah.
Because as much as I am a well-rounded designer and I like tackling the architecture, I know a lot of people that hate it. And
Right.
so that interior designer will be very, very happy to sit back, choose fabrics. And if you ask that person to do a, I don't know, a sanitary waste schedule, will sweat cold, will be
Yeah, of
like,
course.
no, I hate that, which
Yeah.
I get is awful. But, it needs to happen. Someone needs to
Yeah.
do it.
No,
Yeah.
I get it. Now, on the other end of the scale, I mean, look at some of your projects. I think they're beautiful, okay? So, we've got that kind of kitschy interior design, but the other perception that I think a lot of people have is that interior design is actually quite glamorous. So, house,
Mm.
candy and candy, BP interiors. Where I'm going with this, though, is that is there a little bit of glam, or is it also a lot of hard work behind the scenes, which isn't glamorous in interior design?
I think I understand why they think it's glamorous because the
Yeah.
end result needs to look glamorous. I think for
Yes.
me, something very well designed needs to stand on its own and speak for itself. But the actual process of it is a lot of accounting. It's a lot of schedules and Excel. There is, oh my god, so many assembling days and carrying staff and being on the phone constantly with UPS and DPD. That is
Mm,
just so no, it's not necessarily glamorous, the reality of it.
okay.
Um, but having said that, it really depends on, I guess, how you view it. Um, just like I am very hands-on, and I cannot say I'm not. I am. All my contractors always really like to say, "Oh my God, Maria's in the house. Maria's gonna pick up the screwdriver and start assembling something." But just like I am this way, I had a colleague, and they will never ever dream to pick a tool and start
No,
doing it.
it's just
And we'll
you.
wait around for someone to do it. No, I mean I'm sure there is many like me,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but it's not a glamorous perspective. Um, you are on your um, snowbirds running around. Um, and if you do have a very big company and very wealthy clients, you want to make sure they get the best experience.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, is all there is. It has to be as seamless as possible because it is a luxury service at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, makes complete sense. Well, I think you've given us already a really good insight. What I wanted to ask you, if you got a few
Mm.
more minutes about, is you
Yeah, sure.
mentioned earlier you joked about your team, your architect, the girls, and I guess where I'm going with this is because you've been an employee, you've worked in the industry, but now you also run your own studio. And the
Yeah.
thing is, you talked about has someone got the eye, all this stuff. Now you're hiring at some point. You've hired people, you know that process. So what do you look for now when you're hiring an interior designer, whether they're junior or middleweight? How does an interior designer grab your attention in a CV and portfolio to get an interview?
Oof. I'm a very bad person to ask this
Why?
because I have not, I have not hired a lot.
Yes.
The times I have gone through the process, when I was working for someone else, they did the initial selection.
Yeah.
in many ways, in many on many occasions. Sorry, um, I think to not see too many CGIs is something that always, especially now, it kind of keeps happening. They fill the portfolio of CGIs, and it's like,
Yeah, you didn't do that or all of it. Yeah, okay.
but also even if you did, as a professional, I rarely do CGIs, and if I do, we outsource it, so we
Yeah,
don't do them in house. So the fact that you do CGIs for me is useless.
got it.
Um, Recently, I had, well, actually, she's working for me at the minute. Um, I had this lady, the and it's very funny that you asked me this because we were talking about it yesterday, she and I. Her portfolio was good, was not super on point, but at the time, I was doing quite. I had time, so I did quite a lot of interviews. But then she told me she had been helping her parents build this house, and that she had a lot of like hands-on experience, and that
Mm,
reminded me. I always look for. I mean, to be honest with you, when I do an interview, is a personality thing. Because we are a small studio, we all need to gel. So for me, that's priority. It has to be the right balance between being very hands-on, being very practical, having good eye, um, having good technical. For me, is very
yeah,
important.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's a personality thing. And talking with her yesterday, we were saying, I was explaining to her there is two types of people that do an interview.
yeah.
The ones that are like ramrod, very serious, very professional, and very serious. And I'm gonna explain to you how I do things. And it's like, relax. Probably you're gonna be too high wire for me.
Right.
Um, yeah. And the other part, the second part of the people that don't gel with are the ones that you can see them reading a script in their mind. You ask them, what are
I
your
agree.
weaknesses? And you're you can see them, and it's like so weird, like just tell me, like so all of those things have to be in the
Mm,
portfolio. Very good technical, good images, good FF&E selections, good style with good aesthetic for me is very important, but also natural. For me, when I do an interview, it has to be very natural.
mm.
um, and no, it cannot seem like it's well prepared.
I got you. I agree. I think that's why I quite like a live stream or something like this because it's organic and real. And
Yeah,
one of my pet peeves is that I think at university sometimes people when they present a project they stick to a script, and that's not real life,
so
is
much.
it? It's a
No,
conversation, and I think when you're going back and forth, I think there's an organic honesty there which comes across in
yeah.
an interview, and I think that's really useful. One mini question I wanted to add to that because you know all this stuff now, but years ago me and you were in university, a lot more years for me than you. But you know, back then we were making all these mistakes and stuff, right? And
Mhm.
with all the knowledge you've done now, and think about maybe in being an interior design student graduating now in 2024, it's very different. What would you do
Mhm.
differently, or what advice would you give to someone in their application? So for me, I always say apply to more places than you would normally, go there with an open mind, have an open conversation, because some
Yeah,
people I think stick to one or two companies they know when you know
yeah.
you should go and meet people and interview. But what advice would you give, or what would you do differently?
Um, I I will say apply to all the places, everywhere, all the
Yeah,
studios, because the thing for me is that even if you are not particularly lined up with the aesthetic of this one, and
yeah,
you are junior, like as a junior person, um, that's going to show. So probably they will not go with you. However, it's going to prepare you. It's going to train you to do interviews.
yes,
for the right place.
Mm.
So apply everywhere, whether you like it or not. And even if you don't necessarily like it, but you are a junior, say yes, because that's going to start you onto the experience.
Yeah.
Internships are important, I think. I mean, I was talking with another recruiter a while ago, and they were saying me we don't even publish junior positions any longer because we get swamped with people applying. There is so much competition. So doing a mentorship program or an internship program that gives
Okay.
you an edge,
Yeah.
um, and just it's gonna take time. So relax, find yourself something that is maybe within the industry, even if it's just on a tangent kind of thing,
Yeah.
and keep going and be resilient, because I think the first few years is about just finding something,
Mm. I
start, and then you can get picky.
I couldn't agree more. I think what fantastic advice. Now, one quick mini fun question, if you don't mind me asking. Everyone 2 years ago was talking about the metaverse. Last year we saw AI pop up, right? Chat GPT, but you've also
Yeah.
got images, you've got Midjourney. Now, in architecture, some people use that to get a bit of a mood or something, experiment there, but building buildings is very complicated. We're not quite there yet. However, I would love to know how artificial intelligence has affected interior design, or maybe it hasn't affected it at all, or how you feel about it generally.
Um,
You can be honest.
well, no, I think it can be, it has its uses. I played around with it a bit. I'm
Yeah,
not by any means an expert, and maybe that's the problem.
me neither.
So the times I tried to, and I just went with like living room. I think I was in Mid Journey. Living room, uh, style, whatever, colors, whatever, pendant, or something. Um, it in a way it creates the whole cookie cutter kind of room
Yeah.
that a lot of my uh, not super high end designers or will do.
Oof.
And which is frustrating because I wish it was better. It doesn't look realistic either. You know,
Yeah.
it's still not very. But again, I don't know how to do it really. So maybe
I
that was
got
just my
you.
experience.
Mm.
Um, but in a way, it's someone that is a junior and has just left uni or is doing uni, is going through uni now, and it creates like a FF&E board, and you can tell, spaces are not, you know, equal. Um, this thing is here and that thing is there, and it sometimes it's like, oh, this is very busy and very like, oh, I don't know what to look at first. That's the sort of impression I got from those renders. I was like,
Okay.
oh,
Not there
I
yet.
think we are not there yet, although it's very promising that we are getting that particular tool. A lot of my peers are worried. I don't know if it's worried the
Okay.
word that we will be replaced.
Or cautious,
Um,
maybe. Okay. Yeah.
Cautious, yes. And I think the if you're really good, nothing will replace your eye, what we were saying before. But equally, and this is very important for my profession, we do project management, we do procurement of all the FF&E and all the bits and bobs. Um, a CGI mid journey will create a room.
Mm.
They will not be using real products. So even if they produce an amazing design, super realistic, someone still needs to find that sofa or
Mm.
source an upholsterer to create that sofa for you. Um, so there is a lot of like a huge amount of work behind the scenes that it cannot be done through those softwares. So hopefully we will take they will take a lot of time to get there, so we
Yeah.
can still have a job.
Yeah. I I don't think it will ever take over the full role. The bit I'm excited about is using it in businesses or doing the mundane stuff, which isn't
Yeah,
really design. Getting a little bit of that can be really useful. If you need to, I don't know, dress up an email or something, I think that can be really useful. However,
yeah,
to overrun the whole design, I just
maybe
don't
not.
think is possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's very easy to generate an image to build, but to build it in reality, like you say, with the light, everything is completely different.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't really give you products. It gives you generic products
Oh
because from
yes, so you
internet.
can't you
So
can't you can't put the thing in real life.
no,
'Cause-
no. So it's a it shows you an image with a blue armchair, and you're like, great, I love the armchair. Where can I buy it from? It does not exist.
Yeah,
Or yes, it exists, but you have to look for it.
yeah.
Mm, okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if IKEA does one. I can see that happening. Not that you would
I
choose
mean,
that. You know.
no. I mean, IKEA has a place. It has a place. But they do already with the kitchens. You can build your own kitchen and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm
yeah, I wouldn't be
behind.
surprised.
Me and my partner just walk around that maze forever. Next time, I will load up the AI. I was going to ask you one more question before we wind down, and that was mainly, and it can be BB Interiors, but also it's 2024. Woo, it's January. We're looking the
Yay!
year ahead. I'm quite excited. I think you look excited. But what are you excited for? I mean, do you have any idea yet? What is in store in 2024?
Oof.
Predictions or no idea? Just rolling with it.
I typically roll with it. I'm that kind of person that just. I mean, I have some plans.
Yeah.
I have some new contacts, which is very exciting. Some prospective projects, which is great, and also quite exciting. Apart from working on the projects that we are working right now, there's always a scope for more. I'm looking potentially to hire more people in the next year.
Oh, cool.
Um, so yeah, we are growing. Or hopefully, cross fingers. Um, and yeah, I think I have an award that I'm gonna be.
Oh, award winning. Woohoo.
Well, we will say, we'll say. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think 2024 is gonna be quite exciting. It can be
Yeah.
quite exciting, If I always say, you have so many plans in your head, then none of them pans out, and then you get depressed. Well, no. So I just kind of roll with it. I have a sort of loose guideline of things I have in the pipeline and plans that we want to achieve and all of this, but they come as they come.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
attitude to have. Now, before we go, I always like to say to the guests on, because I ask lots of questions, it's only fair you have a chance to ask a question back. If you have one or two, whatever it is. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
Oh, 1 second.
The lights are gone out. You're being kicked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. It keeps sinking. I'm not here.
Yeah,
Well, actually, I want to take. I mean, I want to listen to your take on working with interior designers.
yeah.
If you have, I always have this idea whenever I have like a new client or a new contractor, especially with contractors, is this going to be the interior designer tells me, oh, move it 1 millimeter to the left, 1 millimeter to the right? Are we being really annoyed?
I got you. Yeah, well, it was many years ago when I was in architecture practicing, but when I did, I was lucky because there was one scheme in very central London near Green Park, and it was super prime residential,
Ooh,
and I think it
lovely.
was working with Catherine Pooley or someone similar. I forget the name right now, and I had a really good experience with the interior designer. EPR Architects, where I was, they did the design delivery, that part of it. The interior design was more about the aesthetics, more focusing on that. So unfortunately, I was the person doing the bad drawings, which would go to the interior designer. But they were very nice to me. It was very pleasant, and I would do a lot of the FF&E packages, right? Send it all over. Joinery, oh my goodness, the amount of cupboards. Because what this building was, it was a renovation of an old building,
Okay.
which used to be like a bank right next to Green Park in London. They were going to be super prime resi. It was St. James's, and it was
Ah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think
And
I know. I think I know which one.
yeah, it's really nice, and it has a lift, and the cars go underneath, and it's crazy, and it was a great experience. I remember the walking around site and speaking with the interior designer, and one shower head, so the bit, the shower head, I think was like £20,000, because it was just that level, right? That was the
Yeah.
client, and even during the design, they were like, "Oh, we're not sure whether we're gonna make it 8 apartments anymore because now." Some old money from the Middle East is going to buy the whole building. So it was all these crazy cool but very great experience, and it was fun working with the interior designer. I think though what was interesting, you talked about earlier, like you do a little bit more of the architecture and stuff. In this scenario, the interiors were doing the interiors, aesthetics, and focusing on that. But I really enjoyed it. I did get jealous sometimes of their role because I thought it was really cool. But it was a positive experience, nothing negative,
Amazing.
and the interior designer was always really helpful. Um, so it was a positive thing. So that's it really. In terms of recruitment, working with interior design studios is very different than architecture. Very
Really.
different. Yeah, it's much more about the eye, as you talked about it. How does that portfolio feel? And I think with architecture, yes, there's a bit of that. However, it can
Mhm.
be about the drawings, the software, the this, the that, whereas interiors is much more about the person's design sensibility, if that makes sense.
It's it is really tricky because and again, this is something I have discussed plenty before. When you are an interior designer, sometimes you feel you cannot put things in the portfolio that you have not done in real life with a studio. So like a real project.
Yeah,
So a kitchen, say. But it's very tricky because if that particular studio that you have worked at before had an in-house style, and a lot of studios will have an in-house style, your
yeah,
personal style might be completely different, but then you are stuck with that style. Um, and and remember how I said before, my degree kind of got me to love all the styles and blah blah. When I look at the portfolio, it might not be my style, personal style, but if I see that it's well done,
yeah.
even if it's a weird style or like not really what I'm looking for, if it's well done, I will always try and have that interview with that person
I got you.
because I don't know if they want to do that exclusively
Yeah,
or if they will be open to do other styles. Uh, for me, it's about quality of execution rather than particular style when it's a portfolio. And equally, that's a thing a lot of studios don't understand when they are hiring.
right.
The fact that you have an in-house style and the person that is applying has a very different style does not mean that they will not be happy to do your style
Got it.
or
But
that know the suppliers
yeah,
of your
so
style.
I got you. So the skills behind the style you see. Not every studio sees, it's just the way it is, but there's value there, isn't there?
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. Well, if anyone wants to check, I know you haven't got a house style, but if anyone wants to see all the different styles in PV Studios, I would love for you now to tell everyone where they can find your staff, how they can get in contact with you, Maria. Can you let the audience know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are the website is currently in the screen. We are Baby Interiors London, and we are on Instagram. We are on LinkedIn, and they can message anytime that they want. Me or my team will get back to them. We are quite decent size, so you should not be waiting 3 weeks for a response
Yeah.
unless it has gone to spam. Apologies if it has gone to spam. I apologize beforehand. But you have all the links in the website, and it's very straightforward. It's just bbinteriors.co.uk, and you have the Instagram link in there, LinkedIn, Pinterest. We use a lot Pinterest actually. So even to see. I think we are in house, HOUZ.
Okay.
My accent doesn't allow me to pronounce it properly. But so yeah, we are quite visible around, and we are more than happy to hear from anyone and everyone. We have been reached out by clients, by property agents, concierge services, suppliers,
Oh my
buyers,
goodness.
sellers. Honestly,
Lots.
it's great to meet new people anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, just come and say hi.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your insight and how to get a job in the industry, what it's like to work at BB Interiors, what you get up to. It's really valuable. And especially, I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy
Thank
day,
you.
especially when things are heating up at the start of January. So
Oh
thank
my
you,
god!
Maria.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really appreciate it. Stay on the stage one more minute because I'm going to end the live stream here. But thank you also in the audience for tuning in live. I really appreciate it. However, if you've also watched the replay, that's okay. It's the modern world. That's what we all do. More content coming up. But if you did enjoy this, reach out to BB Interiors and I will have more content soon. Have a great day. Enjoy your lunch break and speak to you all soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye now.